Warning: the five may contain discussions on topics such as death, suicide, rape, addiction, and abuse. Although these topics are approached in a therapeutic manner, they still may have triggering effects on some individuals. Viewer discretion is advised.
Human beings are crafted through experience. Each person, from the closest of friend to the most random of stranger, has a unique story crafted by the ultimate experience that we call life. Welcome to the Five. The same five questions, a completely different experience every time.
Many of you will recognize my next guest from social media. He is the quintessential bear. He's a world-renowned go-go dancer, and after actually having the chance to talk to him, he's one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. So why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Hunter Harden. I am a model and social media influencer, and now, I guess, king of the go-go bears. And I also run a podcast with my husband. We run a podcast called The Real House Bears, and we cover the Real Housewives franchise. And my husband is now on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of them this new season coming up. And then there's just me, Hunter Harden, and you will see me go-go bear dancing like around the United States. So that's all I really do is I just get to host parties, meet new people, and dance. It's a lot of fun.
That's really awesome. And I will say, one of the main things is when I finally actually got to meet you, you're such a nice guy. Well, it's actually kind of surprising because normally, when somebody looks like you, they can be a little bit pompous sometimes, but you're actually super nice. And so that made me like you even more. So I'm really excited about getting to interview you today. So you know what it's about. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You can answer them however you like. Are you ready?
I sure am.
All right. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
The scariest thing that has ever happened to me would have to be... Okay, so years ago, I still have cluster migraines, but my cluster migraines got really bad right around my 31st birthday. And this doctor in Washington, D.C., I mean, he was a legit doctor. He even had pictures with Obama and stuff on his walls of him. And so he seemed really legit. And he said that he was going to let me come stay with him in Washington, D.C. in his huge mansion. And he was going to give me free brain scans of my brain to take to new doctors. And it was part of a big clinic that was very legit. I mean, I looked all this stuff up before I went over to this guy's place for it was going to be 2 weeks or something. But he wanted it to be longer. So I was like, okay, well, let's just do a month and just see how well we do. Because I figured I'd have to go back and forth to the doctors, blah, 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 blah. Well, anyways, I get a lot of my stuff to live for a month in Washington, D.C. with this doctor and his wife. And when I get there the first week, they are very, very, very religious, very religious. And so it made me kind of nervous for a second because, I'm gay. And so they start doing a lot of Bible readings and all this different kind of stuff. And I'm kind of going along with it and blah, 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 because I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And to be honest, I had no other option at that moment. I had lost my job and my career due to my migraines, and I didn't have any insurance. So I kind of was in a tough spot. And so after the first week went by and there was nothing about the MA clinic, there was nothing about getting myself some surgery or some brain scans. And so I was like, okay, well, whatever. I guess I'm going to just keep on going and go enjoy the town. And I told the doctor, when are we going to go see these scans, go to these scans, when are we going to go to the MA clinic? And he kept saying, okay, well, just next week, we're going to do it. And after the second week went by, there was still nothing. And the religious aspect of this guy kept getting put onto me with wanting to do scripture readings and all this other stuff. And, I went to church, I know the deal or whatever. And so I just kind of played along, and I was in a dark place in my life too. So having some kind of religion experience might have helped me or something. So, I just kept on going along with it. But after the second week, things just got really weird. And this guy all of a sudden was really into me sexually. And it made me very, very uncomfortable. And I called like my family and my friends and I said, I think I'm in a bad situation at this doctor's place. And every single time I would try to get around the subject of like, when are these tests going to be done? When am I going to get these tests? When am I going to do all this? And this doctor just was very good with his words. He was just able to switch everything around and tell me the sky was blue, even though I knew the sky wasn't blue. And I would sit there and have conversations while my phone was running. And my boyfriend at the time, Corey, would be on the other line just listening to this conversation and recording it because I just felt like I was in a really scary situation. And after the third week, I finally said enough is enough. Like, I don't care about these tests. I need to get out of the house. I need to go. Like, I'm losing money. I have to go home. And I given the excuse of that I could be working at home during this time and I don't have any money. And so he started giving me like $500 a day while I was there. And so I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to stay here one more week. And I told him at the end of that week, I'm going to go home if you don't have any scans left. And so I just started seeing Washington, D.C. and having a lot of fun in Washington, D.C. and enjoying myself. And I even celebrated my birthday, my 31st birthday there. And, the experience was fun. But then once it started getting to the point where nothing was happening and I started feeling like there were like kind of like a prisoner inside of this person's house, that if I said the wrong thing, I'm kind of at this person's whim. Like he could do anything to me and I'm like just there. And so finally after the third week, I said, I'm leaving. Like, this is it. And he's like, okay, we're going to go up to New Hampshire and we're going to get these tests done. And I was like, I don't know if I can go up to another location further away from home and keep doing this. But his wife was very sweet. Again, there was just so much religious aspect that even I started to like fall into it. And I could see myself trying to change for this person. And religiously, it was just the most weirdest thing that's ever happened. It probably should be my weirdest story instead of my scariest story. But in the end, he bought my ticket after the third week because I said I need proof that something's going to happen. And he bought my ticket for the very end of the month, which was a week away. And I said, okay, fine. I will go with you to New Hampshire with your wife. And I had this pen in my hand that was like really sharp. So I brought that with me because I didn't know what to do. And we were taking a plane up there and we took a plane and we went up there and in the middle of the night. So this guy also kind of felt like he was some kind of healer, like with his hands. And then it came out that he wasn't a doctor anymore. He had lost his whatever it is for some kind of malpractice. I didn't ask too many questions. I just nodded my head and was just like, yes, I don't want to die here. So I'm going to just agree with you and let you put your hands on me. And so in the middle of the night up in New Hampshire, it was a beautiful, beautiful beach house right against the water, like multi-million-dollar. And it was just breathtaking and then I went to bed and I started getting a migraine in the middle of the night. And I woke up to somebody saying Hunter in my bedroom in the dark. And he's standing there in the middle of the night watching me sleep. And he said, Hunter. And I woke up and I sat up and he's like, are you having a migraine? I said, yeah, I'm having a migraine. He's like, I knew it. I could feel it through the other room and blah, 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 blah. And so that freaked me out. And I just was so ready to get home. And then finally, 4 days later, I finally got the brain scans. I went to a real doctor's office, got real brain scans and then when I finally got out of that doctor's mansion, Wisconsin weirdness thing, I brought all these scans to my doctor, my neurological doctor, and he said, oh, these brain scans, we don't need these brain scans. They don't really do anything. We already know where your migraines are stemming from. And so I just was like, you guys, I spent a whole month in this perverted hellhole of a doctor's house for dodging whatever knives or anything that were coming behind me for these documents, and then to tell me that that you don't even need them anymore. I'm like, okay, well, thanks. So that's probably like my weirdest and scariest thing that's happened to me. So I think that's a little bit of both, but I could do another one.
Well, I'm going to have you do another one because that one was very interesting. It honestly sounds like a Shudder original movie plot right there.
Yeah.
I have like a good gut sense about things, but when it comes to people, I'm also like a people pleaser, and I hate to like feel like I'm letting people down. I hate to make other people feel uncomfortable. It's like if I feel uncomfortable, it's okay, but I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. And it's got me into some really kind of bad situations before, like situations where all of a sudden your brain is like, you are in danger.
Yeah.
And so I know exactly, like I can put myself into that. And, there's a lot of people that's like, you should have known something's up. But one, you're in a bad spot. You need these tests. You definitely want to know what's going on. And so I could 100% see me getting in the same position and just be laying there at night like, am I going to make it through the night?
Exactly. That's what I mean, I did. I lost all my money. I was in a really tough situation. I was even calling out on Facebook for help and even a GoFundMe because I just had lost everything because of these cluster migraines. And to hear this doctor that has pictures with him with like Reagan and Obama and stuff, to offer his house and like give me these free brain scans for a month, I was like, sure, okay, let's do it. You look legit. Like I looked you up. But then to find out like after 3 weeks of being there that nothing is happening, and then he's not a doctor anymore. He's not a practicing doctor. And I'm like, if that movie Get Out was like made a lot back then, that's all I would be going through in my head. It's like, I need to get out of here. What if these like scriptures he's doing me is like a mantra, and all of a sudden I'm just going to like be his drone.
I was going to say, it sounds like Get Out. It's just the Hunter Harden version of Get Out.
It was crazy. It was scary and weird.
Well, I mean, let's go on in. What is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you
Okay.
besides that?
Yes. And this one is probably the scariest and weirdest thing too, but it's a lot about what you're saying about having like a good intuition about people and like a gut feeling about things. So I got infatuated with serial killers when I was young, and like my first biography about somebody was Jack the Ripper. So I love horror movies. I love studying about serial killers. So I'm always like in my head knowing that I can't put myself in weird situations. I was living at home with my mom. I was probably in 11th grade, and it was just me and my mom. My sisters had moved out, and there was a elementary school up the road, and there was also this big dirt hill that everyone used to like BMX bike at that I used to go to all the time. And I was going through my emo phase in school, and life is so dull, and I'm going to go cry up on a mountain with a black rose in my hand. And so it was like, man, it couldn't have been too late. It had to have been like 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, I said bye to my mom, and I was like, I'm just going to go up to the hills and listen to my music. And so I started walking, and I left my house, and my house is right by the T of a street. So like my house right here, and then there's the T in the street, and the elementary school goes that way, and that way goes completely different. And the hill mountain is right over there. And so I left the house, and I literally got 10 feet from my front yard. And I started walking, and I see a car go by, a truck, and I think nothing of it. And then all of a sudden I just got this weird feeling. I turned around, and I saw that he did a U-turn way across the street. And so I was like, that was weird. And I just didn't want to get jumped. I thought somebody was like going to jump me or something. So I crossed the street and started walking up to the T in the road. And I got to right at the T in the road where the stop sign was. And this truck stops there, and the headlight, the light, street light over him is making a shadow over his car. So I literally can't see I can't see him. I just know it's a man. I can hear his voice. And he stops, and he goes, "Hey, where are you heading?" And I said, "Oh, a bunch of me and my friends were going to hang out at this elementary school up here," which was a complete lie, but I'm glad I said it. And they're walking this way already. And he's like, well, I can give you a ride. And I was like, no, it's literally like up the street. My friends are already walking down this way, so it's even shorter. And he says, it's fine. I can give you a ride. It doesn't matter with me. He's like, just come on over here and I'll get in the car. And I said, oh, no, seriously, it's okay, honestly. And he's like, okay, fine. And he just peels off the other direction and drives off. And I just stood there for a second, like, it felt like an hour, but I just stood there and I was thinking, like, what was that? What just happened? and I ran back home and I just told my mom, I was like, I think a serial killer or a really horny guy just tried to pick me up. And I just sat, and I've always remembered that moment of, I kind of went on autopilot and said that my friends were walking this way already and I had friends there and I was just going to a different location and crossing the street so that he didn't pull up behind me. It just was all just happened so fast that even after it was over, I had to sit there and think, like, what just happened? And so I just went right back home and just went to bed or hung out at home, and just, that has always haunted me of, like, what that was. And you never know unless it has happened to you. And when people say, like, you don't know what's going to happen if it does happen to you, it's true, because I went on autopilot. I had no idea what I was doing. Even after it happened, I had to, like, sit there and think about it. And another thing is, so many tragedies can happen just feet away from your house. And I was just thinking, like, I could have gotten picked up and I was just a house down from my mom. So that's another weirdest and scary story for me.
I think you made a decision that changed the whole outcome of your life.
That's the thing, is I don't know what it's still to this day, I can envision it perfectly. He was driving a 2-door truck that was blue and looks like a Toyota, but that moment has haunted me forever of what if.
If you grow up loving horror movies, there's a lot of times when you get into situations and you look around and you're like, oh no, this is like a horror movie. I need to get myself out of this immediately. And now with, like, podcasts and everything, I've got, like, young nieces, and, like, I'm having them, like, listening to Crime Junkie and everything. And, at first my sister's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, to teach them, do not get into a stranger's car. Don't talk to strangers. It's like, it's awful, but it's also like, it only takes one mistake like that. If you had got in there, it could have been the end of your life. Some mistakes you don't get a second chance at.
Yeah, that's instinctual to do that too, to fear things, and it's natural. So it's a good, like, if it's way back in the day and there's a lion in one area, you don't go by that area, and everyone tells you don't go to that area, and this is what happens if you do go in that area. And that's exactly what people that talk about crime and true crime and homicide and murders and serial killers, that's a story to learn from, and to not put yourself in those situations. And if you get put in those situations, how to get out of those situations. Like, if somebody tried to get me into their car with a gun or a knife, you're going to have to do it right here, because I'm not going to a second location so you to torture me. I know how this game works.
100%. Like, those, like, Crime Junkies and everything, they're the new Grimm's fairy tales. The old Grimm's fairy tales, they are not happy stories. Nobody makes them out of those happy. They're the new lessons to teach people.
Yeah. And man, I mean, true crime is so addicting. I mean, all my podcasts are all true crime stuff. And there's hundreds of different variations of people that talk about how, like, it's either two women talking about house crime or true crime. And then it's like two males, and then it's two gay guys, and then it's two lesbian girls, and then it's a pirate with a limp. It's just, I love it so much. I'm like, give me all of the true crime, feed me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. True crime is like one of those things I listen to on the daily when I can.
And it's a double-edged sword doing it too, because once you start watching it, listening to it, talking about it, all of a sudden you're at the grocery store and you're like, don't walk up behind me. You're trying to kill me. We always talk about how if you see somebody washing their car late at night, I'm always like, somebody killed somebody. They're washing all the blood off their car. It's happening. 11 o'clock at night. Nobody washes their car at 11 o'clock at night.
That is 100% true, because I find myself doing the same thing. I'll look and I'll be like, what are they doing at this time of hour?
Yeah.
That's not a normal thing. That's something a killer would do.
Exactly. You just become so paranoid.
Well, now that we've talked about killers and creepy things and probably you missing getting murdered, I guess we can move on to what's the most memorable moment of your life so far?
Okay, this one's easy. So in 2020, me and my boyfriend at the time, we were stuck at home, like most couples or whatever. And 2020 either like made or break like a relationship. And we quickly realized how much we got along with each other, being around each other 24/7. And um, I went to this, I barely got to work because, I work in the entertainment industry and stuff. So when COVID happened, everything shut down. But in October, we got to, or no, in November, no, October. Yes. I was like, oh, this is so easy to remember. But in October, I went to go do a show in Chicago for a drag and drive-in with Circuit Mom. And I was going there to help my friend Bitch Puddin, who won season 2 of Dragula, and we've just become really good friends over the years. And so I went to go help her, and then Landon Cider, who had just won their season, was there as well, and I was just like a big fan. And he asked me if I could help him with his show too, and I said yes. And so I got to perform in both of their events at a drag and drive-in, which was like such an amazing experience, and just getting to meet new people and new friends and stuff. The next day, I was just tired. I'd worked 2 events that weekend. I was ready to get home. And so I get to the airport and I run into Landon Cider at the airport. And he's like, here, have a beer on me. And we sat there and had a beer. And it was just a nice little morning. And then I get on my flight and I start getting a migraine. I take one of my migraine pills. And so I'm groggy. I'm tired. I'm done. I want this day to be over. I want to be home. And our airport had just been built that March. It was a brand new, beautiful entrance. It was really, really pretty. And I am getting off the plane and I walk through security and I see my boyfriend in a nice outfit just standing there. I was like, oh, that's sweet that he came in like dressed up for me and stuff, but I'm not in any mood to like be happy right now because I'm so tired. And all of a sudden he just gets down on one knee and thank God it was videotaped because I have no clue what he said to me. I have no idea. I just sat there with my jaw dropped and people were passing us. And he said that he got my mom's permission to marry me. And I got proposed to right there. And he wanted to get married like literally like 3 days later or something. And I was like, I want to have like my fiance moment. Like, I have 4 older sisters and they're all married. I want to have my fiance moment. Like, I want to get pampered a little bit. And so he's like, okay, I'll add a couple more days to that. And I was like, all right, fine. So I wanted a good date. And so we got married on 10/30/2020. And it was the day before Halloween because Halloween's my favorite time of year. And also, wherever you go that weekend for our wedding anniversary, it's also Halloween weekend. So there's always going to be a party anywhere we go. So that's definitely my most memorable moment in my life was him. Even though I don't know what he said, I just remember how he looked and what I felt getting proposed to because I never thought I was going to get married. And we had talked about it, but man, he did it so quick. And it was because of COVID and because we've realized we could be with each other 24/7, 365 and actually fall more in love with each other. So yeah, that's my most memorable. Sorry, no serial killers or crazy doctors.
You got to have a few sweet moments in life, It can't be all serial killers and crazy doctors trying to lock you in their house. That is really sweet. And I saw that video. I still remember when it come out and everything. And it's just one of those, like you're scrolling through and you see it, you can't help but just be like, that's so beautiful.
Dude, I'm really glad my friend Bob was there to video it because it was such a quick blur to me and I just don't remember really what was happening. But it's definitely a memory that I will always have. And it's always, and then so also since we both travel for work a lot, we pass by that spot every single time we go to the airport. So we're constantly reminded of that moment. And it was just it was the best way for him to propose for our lifestyle.
That's amazing. Well, I hate to bring it down, but this is always the hard one, and that's what's the saddest moment of your life so far?
I can't go into it too much because it's too sad for me right now. But I lost my cat last September, and I've lost a lot of like good friends. I lost my dad in 2020. But my cat was just there for me when I first came out. When my first pet died from childhood, I'd just gotten that cat. His name was Token, and he was an all black cat, and he was just the sweetest boy ever. And that's been the hardest thing for me to deal with, is losing that kind of unconditional love that you get from a pet, and especially him, because I was his dad and I've never had that kind of connection with an animal before. So losing him last September to, luckily, old age, I didn't have to take him to the vet or anything. He passed away in his sleep. So that's, in hindsight, that's good, but that's losing my cat is definitely the saddest thing that's ever happened to me so far. And I hope it is the saddest thing. I don't need any more. I don't want to be sad. It's horrible.
I think, since 2020, all of us could use at least 10 good years before we experience anything else sad. I know that's not going to happen, but it's been some rough years for a lot of people.
And I went for my weirdest topic. I was going to say, y'all, we all lived through like a breakout, like a pandemic. We got into went in quarantine. Isn't that the weirdest thing ever?
Yeah, and there was like so much crazy stuff going on. I was like, I literally do not want to live through any more like world-changing experiences. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm okay with just going back to normal and finishing out a normal life.
Yeah, like when you look back at like your family's members that had to go through polio, and like they have those shots that like indented their skin, and like just all of the other big scares, and like the Cold War scare and stuff. I'm like, okay, I thought we had our big scare with 9/11. Now we've got like, I had no idea we would live through a pandemic. I'm like, okay, so are we done? Is this generation done? Like, because I don't want to go through anything else. Thank you.
I guess we're also used to being connected and getting to do whatever we want and all these freedoms here in America, especially. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, that's conditional. Like, that's conditional on everything going smoothly, but that can end. And it was a shocker. It was like, wait, I can't go to the park if I want to go to the park anymore?
COVID, that quarantine and COVID was, I don't think you could explain it unless you lived through it. And I'm afraid to hear what people hear about it 50 years from now. People are like, God, people in those 20s were like stupid.
They'll have the videos of the people fighting over toilet paper, and they're like, it's going to be one of those things that later on we're like, yeah, we kind of went crazy.
Sorry.
We were doing our best. We didn't know what to do.
Exactly.
Well, I always like to end it kind of like on a happy note, or sometimes it doesn't turn out to be a happy note, but a lot of times it's positive. Based on your life experience, what's the best advice you can give the people out there listening?
First of all, be easier on yourself. Having social media nowadays, you're forced to look at everything that is it's been perfected so much. And that's just, even my social media accounts, like when I meet new people, people think that I'm like this really confident, maybe conceited Instagram jerk, but when people meet me, they're like, oh, you're human. I'm like, yes, I am. So just be easy on yourself, because everyone is going through their own things, their own flaws, and quit comparing yourself to somebody else, because you need to be who you are. It sounds so generic, but you are original, and you are the only person that can give that kind of originality. So give yourself time, and don't be so hard on yourself, and don't let your fears be future regrets. So don't let fear or your insecurities hold you back on doing something. For me, I had agoraphobia and social anxiety really, really bad. So I pushed myself into the most uncomfortable thing I could possibly do, which was modeling and having the attention directly on me. And it turned out to be a huge therapy, and it turned out to where I am now. And it was all on accident. It was all just therapy. So I wish I could go back and I could have conquered my fears earlier instead of later in life, because who knows where I could have been or could be. So don't let your fears turn into regrets.
Instagram for me actually started out as kind of like a self-therapy, because I've always kind of had like very low like opinion of myself. I have very big body issues. Like I don't look very much different than I do probably 6 years ago. In fact, I was probably in better shape, but I wouldn't even take my shirt off when I went swimming and everything. And I thought, this is probably not normal. Everybody's like, I don't understand why you feel this way and everything. And I'm like, I can't explain it. It's just the way I've always felt. And so, I kind of done the same thing. It started out to be like a therapy for me. Like I was like, I can post a picture of myself on Instagram and I don't have to do anything then. Like once it's posted, it's done. And like I would literally in the beginning, like close my eyes and hit like post. And I'm telling you, you can go back to the early Instagram days and they were like very light, I'm a whore now. I'm definitely an Instagram whore now, but like it took me a long time to get there and everything like that. And it's still like I still a lot of times will like close my eyes and hit the button because I'm like, oh, I'm pushing the boundaries, or this one's gonna get me like some negative comments or something like that. And then you always like you'll get all the good comments, but then it takes that one negative one to put you in that spot. And that's what people out there need to realize. You don't have to say anything negative. If you don't say anything at all, sometimes that's the best thing you could say, because there are feelings, and it's just like people think you're this super confident, probably arrogant guy because, they see your pictures and you're always having fun and you just look like kind of an unapproachable guy. So that's like when I talk to you, I was like, wow, he's actually really nice and really cool.
I think everybody does that in the gay community too, because even I do that. Still to this day, I will see somebody that I thought was my social media friend that was really hot, and my husband would like, go say hi to him. And I'm like, I can't right now. I'm not in the right place to say hi to him. I'm too nervous. And I get that the most when I go to events. People were nervous to talk to me, so I try to encourage people to come say hi to me because I'm not that type of person. And a lot of people get that first, that first kind of image of you of what they think you are, and you aren't that person. You're just making a living on Instagram and taking hot pics. But I have one more story about be nice to people and be careful what you say to them. Like sometimes your comment doesn't need to be said because you're just being nasty. So it was literally like 2 months into quarantine and everybody was inside. And so, TikTok was like the thing. And so my 30-year-old ass is like, I'm going to learn TikTok. I'm going to be TikTok famous. And right away, I knew that if you're over 30 and on TikTok, you should be dead by now. But it was what all the kids think. And so on one of my most liked videos, some kid just wrote, get the F off of here, and had little fairies on it. And I was like, this is like a elementary school kid saying this. It took me 10 minutes to go through his TikTok, to his Instagram, to his aunt's Facebook, to his aunt's sister, to find the pictures with him and his mom. And the crazy thing about it was this kid and his parents lived in Reno, Nevada, which is my hometown. And his parents were the newscasters for the town. And so I sent him a message and was like, hey, I just want to let you know that your kid is just saying this to strangers on TikTok and stuff. And you're lucky I'm not crazy, because I found out where your kid went to school, where he lived, where his parents were, and everything. And I was like, this would be a news story of like, watch what your kids are doing online. And they probably thought I was insane. But they called me personally and apologized and had him apologize. And I felt so good and so accomplished, especially because it was the beginning of COVID and his parents had already talked about him, about their presence on social media being newscasters, and him to do this, that he got his entire social media cleared out. He wasn't able to do social media at the beginning of COVID. So I was like, Ah, yes.
And I'm going to back you up on TikTok. Out of all of them, I think TikTok's the meanest.
Those kids are vicious. I love it that these like Gen X kids like care about your pronoun, but not like as a human being.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can't do that, but I'm going to say the most horrible things in the world to you, or at least comment.
They will use your right pronouns, but they'll tear you down. They don't care. These kids are ruthless.
That is the absolute truth. Usually if I get my feelings hurt, it's on TikTok.
And it's by some little kid. This is why I don't do online gaming either, is because some little 10-year-old across the world is going to whoop my butt and he's going to say something really nasty to me and I'll lose it.
And you know I have to go crazy and find everybody's parents.
No, I don't need to do that. I mean, I have multiple times, but I don't need to do it.
Well, I really enjoyed this. It was really good to actually sit down and get to talk to you. I mean, we'll chat online a little bit and I keep up with your feed and everything like that and see all the cool things you're into, but it never really got to just sit down and talk to you. So this has been really fun.
I know, I've really enjoyed this. I mean, you've been my like inspiration for cosplaying. So I love watching all your different outfits and stuff. I'm still to this day, for some reason, your Cubone outfit just rings with me.
Well, I always could bring him back because he's very easy. And normally I go to Dragon Con in Atlanta in like the end of August into September. And so I've learned wear as little bit of clothes as you can possibly wear and that it's not lewd, I guess.
Yeah. You could wear a lot of clothing, but no clothing at all.
Oh yeah, I used to go like dressed up in these elaborate costumes and all this foam and everything. And then after a few years, I was like, it's more fun to be almost naked and hydrated than look really cool and almost dead.
I feel bad for all like the furries and stuff in the world that have to go to like fur cons that are in the middle of the summer. I'm like, you guys realize that's not nice to do to them. You got to do it in the winter.
I will say I have mad respect for them because I've seen them when they take their helmets off to like get a drink and it is just like they're swimming in there. So mad respect out there to every furry, whatever you think.
Amen.
Or whatever you say.
My hat off to y'all.
Mad respect. Well, this has been fun again. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me on. This has been a real treat for me, and getting to chat with you has been great.
I want to thank you all for listening today. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Also, check out the video podcast at Handlebar ASMR on YouTube for extras.